You can find the exact value of sine and cosine for angles that are multiples of 30 or 45. Such as sometimes I ask you find the sine of 135 or of 215 as an example. To find it, you can use the angles 30 or 45 to find them. Let's see here in problem number 5 how to find the cosine and sine of angle 60. Now here, imagine now you don't know what is the cosine of angle 60 and you don't know how to find it. You have these coordinates, you have to draw the unit circle, then you have to bring a protractor and find or try to draw a circle or try to draw an angle. Its measure is 60. Then after you draw this angle, okay, you see this point here, and at this point for the when you draw it on the unit circle, what is the coordinate of this point? You will find that the coordinate of this point will be square root of 3 over 2 and half. Oh, sorry. Half and square root of 3 over 2. So you bring now the here you draw the angle 60. You will find that the coordinates on the unit circle was half and square root of 3 over 2. What does it mean? That's mean the sine, this is the cosine and this is the sine. So that's mean the cosine of angle 60 will be half and sine of angle 60 will be square root of 3 over 2. So here this is a way how to find a measure of angle 60. For this one here, just you have to draw it, then to find where's the coordinate of this angle at the unit circle. This coordinate tell you what is the cosine and the sine of the angle.
Teacher?
Yes.
Teacher, but how you're going to know the coordinate? Like it's not specified.
Here, if you draw it correctly, you will find it exactly at, and if you draw the unit circle with radius 1, okay, and if you draw the angle with its correct measure, you will find this coordinate.
Or we can use like our rule, right?
Yes, yeah, and I know these numbers because I use this table, and I can guess these numbers because from the table here, as you see, the sine is square root of 3 over 2 and the cosine is half. So I tell you that when you draw it, you will get this coordinate.
Oh, okay.
This problem here, just I give you the idea how they bring or how they find the cosine and the sine for the angles.
Okay, teacher, thank you.
Yeah. Now let's see this angle here. Cosine. But in our table, in our common angles, there's no 225. We have only 30, 60, 45, 90, but there is no 225. So what can I do? Here, as I told you before, you have to draw the unit circle. Like this. Now, then ask yourself, where is angle 225? Is it between 0 and 90? No. Is it between 90 and 180?
No.
No. It's between 180 and 270?
Yeah.
Yes. So then, now you need to draw it. So what you have to do? Now imagine now you have your protractor. This is the protractor that you have now. Okay, you put it here. Now, you need now to draw 225. What you have to do, you put your 180 here as a reference line. Then you have to ask yourself how many degree you have to add it to get 225. I'll repeat. Now you have your protractor, you put it on the negative x-axis. You put your reference line as 100, or your reference angle as 180. Now this from 180, you have to increase, or you have to draw, sorry, the angle to get 225. So how many angles you have to add to 180 to get 225?
60.
60?
No,
How?
45.
45. Subtract 225 minus 180, you get 45. So that's mean the angle from the negative x-axis up to 225 is 45. Now then, after I find this one here, so I need now to find the cosine and the sine. Now, the second step here, we said before that the sine of 45 is 1 over square root of 2. And the cosine of 45 is 1 over square root of 2. Is it right? This we know it before. What are the sine and the cosine for 45? I will use these two numbers to find the cosine and the sine for 225. Because 225 is an angle that is rotate 45 up from the angle 180. Do you know now why I used angle or the cosine and sine of 45?
Yes, teacher.
Yes.
Okay, because here it is rotate 45 degree from the x-axis. But if you measure it from this point up to here, you will find that it's 225. Now, I know from my table, and I need to find 225, and I don't have any calculator. I know before that sine of 45 is 1 over square root of 2, and its cosine is the same. I need now to put the coordinates. What I have to do? First, let's put that the cosine here is 1. Oh, let's change the color first. 1 over square root of 2, and the sine is 1 over square root of 2. This is the first step I make. Then, also, I know before that in quadrant 3, let's remember, add sugar to coffee. So only the tan here is positive. So that's mean both of the cosine and sine are negative. This is for the angle 225 because my angle is in quadrant 3. So I get now the sine and the cosine as negative. So from here, we will say that cosine of 225 will be negative 1 over square root of 2, and sine of 225 will be negative 1 square root of 2. And its tan will be the sine over cosine, which is 1. Why it must be positive? Because I told you here, the tan in quadrant 3 must be positive. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 225, you have first to bring two things. Your protractor, you have to say type, okay, 225, it's between 180 and 275, or 270, sorry. Then, so if I add 45 degree to 180, I can draw 225. So I finish drawing it. Then I will ask myself, which angle I used? I used 45. I go to my table, I bring the sine and the cosine of 45. Then I need to change them because 45 is in quadrant 1. That's why both of cosine and sine are positive. But here you have to see if they are positive or negative. After they put these numbers, you can find the cosine and sine. Now, another way to find if they are negative or positive, since it is here, so it intersects both of the side of the negative x and negative y axis, so the values must be negative. This is another way if you forget that the sine and the cosine in quadrant 3 are negative. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, what are the cosine and sine of the angle? Now, let's see here, angle negative 45. Let's draw it now here to see what is the cosine and sine for it. Now, angle negative 45. So that's mean I have to rate 45
Clockwise.
degrees, but clockwise. So it's supposed to be here. Now then, so from the x-axis, I rotate 45 degree clockwise. So I have to go to my table and I will use the coordinate of which angle, or whom angle shall I use its coordinate?
45.
45. So for the 45, I know before that its cosine is 1 over square root of 2, and its sine is 1 over square root of 2. I will bring these two coordinates, first the cosine and then the sine. Then the second step, you have to ask yourself, should I put it positive or negative? Let's remember that in quadrant 4, only the cosine is positive. So this will be positive and this will be negative. This is now the coordinates of the angle negative 45. So the angles will be positive 1 over square root of 2, which will be the cosine of negative 45, and sine of negative 45, which will be negative 1 over square root of 2. This is for the angle negative 45. Let's now find angle of 150. Here now you have to ask yourself, where is angle 45? Sorry, where is angle 150? Is it between 0 and 90 or between 90 and 180?
90 and 180.
Exactly, so it could be here. Then, now how many degrees shall I rotate to reach from 90 to reach 150?
Is it 45?
Let's
No,
ask
60.
myself now. Here you have to say that this is 90. Sorry, let's clear it here. This is 90. This is 0, 180, and 270. Now,
Yeah, 60.
myself now, if this is 150, how many degree between 150 and 90? You will subtract 150 minus 90 to get 60. So the angle from the initial side up to the terminal side is 150, but the angle from the positive y-axis up to 150 is 60 degrees. This 60 can help me to use its coordinates to see that this is here angle 60. So we know before that its cosine is, before that, let's have here. Oh, okay, we know that before the cosine of 60 and the sine is 60. What is the cosine of 60? Yes, who can tell me?
It's 5.
It's half. And its sine is square root of 3 over 2. So now I recall the cosine and the sine of angle 60. Then I will write them here as a coordinate.
Teacher, I can't compare it with 180, right? Because I compare it from the initial side to its side.
Now you can compare it from 180, but here you have to make some
It
changes.
will be
You have to be
30.
careful. Yeah. But every time if
Then
you have to go, but it will be negative 30. Because you go now clockwise.
yeah.
So it's easier for you to start from the x-axis
The English.
from 0 up to counterclockwise to get it positive.
Okay, teacher.
Okay. And then here, so I found the cosine is 100. Oh, sorry, 1 over square root of 2, and the sine is square root of 3 over 2. This is now the coordinates. Now I need to check if where it is, which is positive and which one is negative. We know that at quadrant 2, the sine only is positive. So this is the sine, and this is the cosine. So I change now the coordinates of angle 150. Is it clear?
Yes.
So now from here, what is the cosine of 150? It's negative 1 over 2. And
Negative 1 over 2. It's square root of 3 over 2.
It is positive square root of 3 over 2. Are they clear?
Yeah.
Yes,
This is A and this is B. Okay. Now let's solve C. For which angle are its sine and its cosine are equal? You can remember which angle its cosine and sine are equal.
45. Yeah.
Okay, the first one is 45 because its coordinate is 1 over square root of 2 and 1 over square root of 2. So one of the angles are 45. What is the second angle?
We can also say 225 and 315.
Sorry?
Teacher, can you repeat the question?
225 and 315.
One of them, not both of them. One of them is correct. Here, I will repeat the question.
225.
Yes, thank you. I'll repeat the question now here. Which angle is cosine and sine are equal? We know from the table, if you come back to the table here, the angle of 45 here, as you see, sorry, its sine is the same as its cosine. So the first angle, which will be 45. This is the first one here. Okay, so the first angle will be 45. But it's not only 45, because I need to check this angle here, this angle here, and this angle here. Okay, I need to check them here. Now, for the first one, which is 90 plus 45, you will get 135. So it could be 135. It could be 180 plus 45, which is 225. And it could be 270 plus 45, which is 315. So these four angles have the same cosine and sine for 45. Here we have it as 1 over square root of 2, 1 over square root of 2. Here we have it as 1 over square root of 2, 1 over square root of 2. And here we have it 1 over square root of 2 and 1 over square root of 2. But for the second quadrant, only the sign is positive. So this is positive and this is negative. In quadrant 4, only the cosine is positive. And in quadrant 3, both of them are negative.
So it's quadrant 3 and 1.
So which one have the same sine and cosine? 45. And this one are the same because they have the same magnitude with the same sign. So will be also 225. So both of the angles of 45 and 225 will have the same cosine and sine. Is it clear?
Yes, teacher.
Yeah.
But teacher, can you just wait a second to write it?
No, okay. Here, yes. Now, by now, we finished our lesson. This is tomorrow, inshallah, we will start with a new lesson, how to convert from degree to radian. So if you can, if you want, so you can leave the meeting.